Video game bang, video game bang, video game bang. Mega Brand. Live from the sack, it's the livest. In fact, I'm putting rhymes on this track to put my guys on the map. Updates, geek news, tech talk, and reviews. They can summarize it so you ain't gotta breeze through. Listen once and you're forever fans. And I'm not saying it because their theme song features Mega Ram, the ultimate source of all geek media. Other podcasts, they just don't match up. Need proof? You can check the archives and catch up. Stats off the chain, we have rearranged the game. It'll never be the same. Now it's time to feel the bang.
Bang! What is up, my pizzas? Cory Vincent here, back at it again. 2020 in the building. I'm so excited. It is the first episode of the new decade. And let me just start by saying this is the longest break Video Game Bang has ever taken. And what the fuck were you guys doing out there? Jesus. We're at war? Like, God.
Step away for 1 minute.
I know.
War is declared on Twitter, and it's not between celebrity beefs. So.
Ninja has shoes now? Like, what the hell happened?
Ninja got shoes?
Yeah, he actually, they're not bad. He made them with Adidas, but okay. You know, we're back now to set the record straight. We're here to fix the economy. We're here to fix. We're here just to fix shit. Starting,
or at least talk about it first.
We'll talk about it. That's how change begins.
Yeah. There you go.
Speaking of change, he never changes. He is been doing his podcast for over 200 episodes now. Yeah. They invited me to be a part of episode 200. It was a great honor. It was like a reunion special with their first host, Chad Michael Riley.
That's right.
The Filmlosopher's very own Eddie Villanueva.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of BGB.
Well, he did it. He did the thing.
Oh man, it's been awesome, but it's been a really great experience. Just experience that level of like longevity in podcasting, because I know it's interesting. The first time you told me about podcasting, you're like 74% of podcasts don't make it past episode 7, so at least make it to episode 8 and you'll be okay. And all the way till now, and I'm at episode 200 and I'm excited and I'm just glad to be on tonight.
It was a great episode. I had a lot of fun. Basically what we did, if you guys are looking for more podcasts to listen to, the Filmlosophers, start on episode 200. We talked about it was good.
It was good.
It was good. Anytime you can review, and we did best, like our favorite movies. It wasn't like best.
Yeah.
Preferential. What's your favorite movie in the comedy section, in the dramas, and it's just a good time to talk about like some sleeper hit movies. Yeah. What were some of the favorites from you? What was your movie of the year?
Oh man,
the decade.
My favorite. So one of my favorite movies of the decade had to have been Logan. Just hands down one of the best films in terms of encapsulating my love for comic books, my love for Marvel, and my love to see just a great story that has lasted so long come to a beautiful conclusion.
Yep. All right. Also joining us back, I'm glad to have him here, starting the year strong. He's the busiest man in show business. Curtis, what's up?
Bruh. Just happy to be back, man. Yeah. A lot of Kings stuff to cover, a lot of comic book stuff to cover.
Catch us up. So for those of us who haven't been able to pay attention to our Kings as much as we'd like to, how are we looking?
Bad, real bad right now. It's real bad.
Didn't even sugarcoat it. There you
go. But we are currently on a 2-game winning streak, and that was on back-to-back games, which we like never win back-to-back. So we won 2 back-to-back games. We're still in the playoff hunt though, because we're not the only really bad team in the NBA in the West. But yeah, man. I mean, just a lot of injuries and people haven't been able to stay healthy and stay on the court, so it's hard to get a rhythm with all the people that you depend on when it's like a revolving door. But people are stepping up, and they still. I mean, with De'Aaron Fox back, it's still exciting to watch because he's just so fast and. He'd be crossing people up and shaking people. It's crazy, man.
So yeah, all right. Are we better than the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, everybody's better than the Golden State Warriors right now.
All right, we could take solace in that. Yeah, and then also filling in that very important, the most critical role on the show is whoever sits in the 4th chair.
Oh yeah, it's true.
And he came on short notice, thankfully, and he's here. He's with us, and we can catch up. Now I finally have my buddy to talk about Overwatch League stuff.
Forever.
Mr. Kyle, what is going on, man?
Not much, man. I love how, like, every single time that you reach out about, like, hey, can you sub in real quick, I just so happen to be available when there's other people who are like, yo, man, can you get this? Like, nah, man, I'm sorry, I got this one thing tonight. Well, I got this one thing tonight. Like, I am surprisingly busy, yet you always manage to be like, the one day I have off, like something just got canceled.
See, that's the
I'm
thing
here
you
for
don't
it.
know is Corey's so tech savvy. He actually already has your schedule on
That's
his
true.
computer. So he's like,
Just rip
oh,
my
he's not
Google
doing anything
Calendar.
tonight. Give him a
Yeah.
call.
So what's your take? Because you also have a podcast as well. It's
Blackwatch Report. Yeah, man, yeah.
That's right, and it's in association with the guys at
High Noon Podcast.
High Noon Podcast.
So.
These are big like Overwatch podcasts, and you got your finger on the pulse. What are you thinking so far of the off season?
I'm excited, man. There's a lot of cool changes happening. There's a lot of cool teams coming up. Interesting.
Who made the
pickups.
biggest moves? Do you think in the off season?
I can't. Like, I would have said that, like, Seoul picking up Prophet and Jester was big, but they kind of gave away all their other big players, and now they just have Prophet and Jester. I think Toronto's doing cool stuff. I'm excited about the, like, they're not going to be great, but they're going to be interesting. I think Atlanta made the most interesting and the best moves, picking up Sharp and Edison.
Okay.
And just picking up also their academy guys, too.
You
so.
specialize in the T2 scene.
That is correct.
So, who are the big pickups? The ones you haven't mentioned yet that you're most excited to see come from T2?
So,
who's going to make the biggest splash?
The Paris Eternal has Sparkle, who's like the Doomfist god, and is also pretty good at Pharah and Genji and stuff like that. He ages in like May, so I have to wait a little bit as well.
Where have I heard that strategy
Yeah,
before?
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gonna work out though. As well as London has a team of essentially nobodies, plus a pretty good off tank who's been with Fusion, who's in Bernard, but then specifically Glister they picked up from I believe Gen G. He's a projectile DPS player and is just absolutely incredible. So this guy could be like solo carrying this whole team.
Any people that were already in Overwatch League that haven't found teams that you're surprised?
Like got dropped or weren't able to come back.
Like Taimu, for example, was that a big
that
one?
was interesting. I'm not like why would no one pick him up? Like I still have one player that I'm like furious that hasn't gotten a spot, and that's Crimzo on Envy. But like other than that, I feel like I think Gods deserves another chance as well. I will always be a little bit Gods biased because he's a super cool dude. But
there's a blend, there's a mix, and you've seen teams live and die by the mix of like really competitive players and content machines.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of wiggle room if you're a really good content machine to maybe not be one of the best players.
Yeah.
And I think, this comes from a Plat player. I'm not trying to critique people here, but as far as Gods goes, like he was on our old Energy roster. And he's been around for a long time. And I watched all the content that the other teams made. He was money in a lot of those spots. When they went and met the tennis players and stuff, like he's... I don't know why you would get rid of a guy, a spokesman.
He just puts out tweets of like 15-second videos, and they're the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like when he joined the Toronto Defiant, and they went like 0-7, he posted like, ha, 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 "What's up, girl? Just went 0-7 in the Overwatch League." It's like that. It's like that content he puts out is so funny and just his own brand of it, and like no one seems to take advantage of that. Like Toronto didn't do anything with that. Like
for us, I think season 2 was the year of like Super. Super really his stream blew up, and he was just the biggest personality.
Especially after the bit with him being on Sideshow's stream. when Ameng was like popping off, and when the Yada Chad came up, and he was just, he worked on his.
I remember one of his first big moments being the super bad stuff. Like that's like when he really got brought to the forefront. Casters were talking about him and all that. And but in contrast, I remember when we lost Dante to the Outlaws, and as the social guy, I was like, oh shit, like what are we gonna do? Because Dante was always just coming up with some
just
little
says random weird stuff. That's hilarious.
Also, big stuff in Overwatch League. Before we move on, Monty, Doa, Puckett, all leaving, and there's articles of Doomsday coming out all over the place from different sources. What's your buy-in or what's your take on all that?
It's not like a good change. It's not like Mondi and Doe were like toxic people that needed to leave, but I don't think it's like the end of the league. It sucks because they were two incredibly positive and influential people. I would have loved to see them move into more production-y behind the scenes roles because they both are like wealths of experience. But I don't know. I don't think it's like the end of. I think that like they were integral in getting the things in getting the league like, off the runway. But like now we're kind of coasting. I mean, yes, we're starting localization stuff like that, but that's more so on the teams. I would think about keeping the stability there. I don't think like there's too many changes that you need to really worry with them about. So I don't think anything's gonna like explode. But like, if we keep seeing other casters leaving, I think if nothing else, it's a sign that maybe Blizzard needs to try to take care of their own a little bit more. That like pay them better, try to work with them a little bit more, because there was so many creative differences that Monty cited of the reason why he left. Like when Nate left, what is his reason?
Yeah, it was a 12-part tweet basically that started with when Nate Nancer left, he didn't believe anybody there has a vision for esports, which is scary. And that's one of the things that when I first got into the league, Monty was so critical, especially of us. Like he was like of the opinion that if you want to be successful, you just get a bunch of Korean players. And he did not like our strategy from the beginning. And it hurts when Monty says something bad, because a lot of people take what he says very, very seriously. And he's been in the industry 15 plus years. So when he's doing that, it hurts. But then to have the turnaround story where he's calling us a dominant team and stuff, it feels like we've earned it.
Right.
And so I think a big chunk of credibility, I guess, just kind of leaves with him. So I'm going to miss the guy. And I agree 100% with what you're saying. It's going to be on the teams and getting these teams selling tickets and stuff. Speaking of which, are you going to be going to local events?
I'm really hoping to. I was assuming I was going to be in the Bay Area at the time when I thought I was going to get like a Bay Area job. I'm like, oh dude, it's going to be super easy. And then like that fell through. And so now I'm like, it might be a little harder too, but I need to get tickets.
So we can get on to some stuff, because we've been gone for so long. We're a little outdated, so we got to catch up on the world. And one of the things I'm most excited to talk to this crew about specifically is a Star Wars, baby. We had the movie come out. There was a lot of talk before it came. Kurt, I remember watching the trailer teasers and stuff with you, and you were not hyped.
No, I was not hyped, bro.
You were anti-hype.
Yep.
Tell me about your experience going to see Rise of Skywalker.
Going in being so not hyped as I was,
not hyped
as it was.
I would almost say a little negative.
Full transparency. I thought I was gonna despise and hate the movie. I didn't hate it. Definitely didn't hate it. It definitely wasn't the Star Wars ending to another saga that we as hardcore Star Wars fans really deserved.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. But being that my expectations were so low, I went in with the knowledge of a hardcore Star Wars fan, but like the expectations of a very casual.
That's
Star
the way
Wars
to do
setting.
it.
Yep.
I think that is the secret to happiness.
Well, I wasn't happy about it, but I didn't. I walked out and I said, you know what? I liked my time there. If you can sit there and when certain things happen, you go, nah.
Yeah, I felt like this movie definitely. At one point in time, there was a promise that this movie was going to fix all the wrongs of this new trilogy.
Right.
That was the intention going.
Impossible.
Well, yes, very much impossible, but still otherwise stated. Like, this is what you had somebody like J.J. Abrams, biggest Star Wars fan in all of Hollywood and blah, blah, blah. Which, mind you, he probably is.
Yeah.
That's, neither here nor there.
Right.
But the promise was that this film was going to try to fix a little bit of the wonkiness that this whole trilogy had kind of gone on. And we talk about it at length in Lesson 199 on the Filmlosophers.
Nice plug.
Thank you. Where, honestly, I think the biggest problem with this film wasn't so much the film itself, but where this whole trilogy has just landed. Because, in all honesty, the one thing this trilogy didn't have that the original trilogy had and the prequel trilogy had, which, this isn't to say the prequel trilogy is successful. It's just to say that, you know what, there was consistency, is both of those had a George.
Right.
Much like how Marvel has a Kevin Feige and other entities are still trying to figure the whole, their whole game out. There was nobody to hold everybody accountable, and so the story just went all over the place. I'm pretty sure J.J. Abrams had like some type of good story in mind, but by the time it got to the end of this particular film, he was like, fucking just throw it out.
And there's a lot of articles going about right now saying that what we saw, he didn't even get final look at and approval.
Yeah,
there were some things that he was surprised by when he went to the premiere. And that there's apparently a JJ cut that's like 50 minutes longer.
Yeah, there's a whole Reddit post. Somebody who is quote unquote close to JJ and was on.
It's JJ.
It's JJ. He's close to JJ. Yeah. Was stated that JJ had troubles throughout the entire production. That at one point in time, that JJ was actually in a meeting with the executives and was overheard actually yelling, saying, well, why don't you just put on the film written and directed by the Walt Disney Studios? And there's a lot of hearsay because there's a lot of things in it. First off, that information came out after the fact, after everybody started complaining. So there's some suspect stuff in that.
There was one of my favorite stories is from someone who I guess sat near him during the premiere and said that they heard him audibly groan at the line when they said they fly now.
Yeah.
They fly now. And the judge was like, oh shit. And that was just, to sell toys or whatever, and he knew it.
To be honest, here's I think the best way to indicate how this film made people feel is the difference between when I was in the theater, I was there opening night for The Force Awakens, and I actually, because you and I, Cory, had worked at the same place, and we had an actual company Christmas party to go to at that time.
Yeah.
I completely X'd out of that Christmas party just so I can get in line early for the movie. And I was there, and I remember everybody cheering and yelling, and mind you, everybody was still fresh on the idea of like, oh shit, we got Han Solo, everything's back, and everybody was excited. There was like that energy.
Yeah.
The only people that laughed at the screening when I was there, like that got into it, were all the little kids. Every single adult, every single person who looked like they know at least some of the lore, I could hear the groans. I could hear like, oh my god,
I can't believe they did that.
I can't believe, yeah. And it's you know what? It's fine because you know what? It's over. This trilogy is done. They're gonna take at least 4 or 5 years off. They have to. Yeah. They got to let it sit. They got to.
I don't know about 4 or 5 years.
Before they do another actual episode.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're not doing any more, right? This is over.
No.
Star Wars, not Star Wars. Skywalker stuff is done.
Yeah. The Skywalker stuff, but that doesn't mean that the universe is completely done.
Yeah, and they can go anywhere in the timeline and out. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, how sick would it be if they started a brand new Star Wars?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Which is what they're doing with the Mandalorian.
And then, like in 3, give that like time, like 3 episodes later, and there's like a rumor of a Skywalker somewhere else in the galaxy because the galaxy is a huge ass place. Well, it's possible that the things that they did there don't even affect other pieces of the galaxy.
That's another part that pissed me off. This movie was supposed to end the Skywalker saga, and I guess spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it. If you haven't seen it, whatever.
I think,
at the very end,
we should that was a good beginning part. Spoilers are okay now. This thing's been out for like a goddamn month.
Okay,
so if you haven't seen it, it's your fault.
It's your fault. The fact that they make Rey this like ancestral hillbillies brother sister kind of conglomerate of like, oh, it's a Skywalker.
Where's this going?
Well, because like you have the Force ghosts of both Leia and Luke looking off, and they're like, oh, I'm a Skywalker, instead of like owning her own name. Mm-hmm. Like it just seemed like, okay, I thought we were done with the Skywalkers. Now when they jump back into the films, Daisy Ridley is going to come back and be like, "Oh, I'm the Luke Skywalker in this particular thing."
Hopefully, she doesn't come back.
Aren't we expecting them to not like bring? I'm hoping that they just like drop that whole cast and like whole new story, whole new trilogy. That's
the hope.
Like,
I mean, Harrison
Ford
spent every minute of both Empire Strikes Back and The Return of the Jedi hoping his character would die so that he wouldn't have to come back. And then they finally gave him his promise. They answered his wish by killing him off in The Force Awakens.
True.
Kurt, what was your favorite parts?
Favorite part of the movie?
Yeah.
The end. When it was over and I got to leave. That was easily my very favorite part.
With your expansive knowledge, what were the things that bothered you the most, I think, with this one?
Oh, my gosh.
Let me give you my take first.
Okay.
I think The Force Awakens was okay. I think it was okay. I think it was huge fan service.
Oh,
They were
completely.
stroking our, our bodies and
That's
giving
what
us
it
all
Stroking
the.
our bodies.
I'm like,
Yeah,
egos,
they were
maybe. Is that what you're
stroking?
looking at? Egos?
they were just giving us everything we wanted.
They were just stroking. Got
like
it. Okay.
Millennium Falcon 5-second pause, just for applause.
Right, right,
And
right.
then so it was okay. I'll give
Yeah.
it that. Then I don't know, it went off the rails in that second one with Force Ghost Leia like doing Superman stuff through
Just
the
Mary
space.
Poppins that shit.
Yeah, and then
Mary
Ray
Poppins, y'all.
Ray is just like the most overpowered character ever. And
Oh,
we've never
completely.
seen why or how. In this one, it felt like there's no way. I knew going into this movie they weren't going to be able to fix everything.
No.
All I wanted was to have, like what Kurt said, I wanted to leave happy, I guess. Like I spent my time
Fulfilled,
well.
like-
Fulfilled
yeah.
like, to a degree.
I mean, you've already spent what 4 years? You've invested 4 or 5 years of your time into this trilogy, so you're hoping you get something at the end of
And
this.
much more time before that is the most important stuff.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
this part you grow up with, and then even the prequels. So I don't know. I just wanted to see what they did, and like I felt like it channeled some of one. I just wanted fan service, and for it to end well. So I thought bringing Palpatine back was cool. I think trying to explain away some of the stuff that made zero sense, like the training montage they showed for Rey. Like, okay,
Yeah.
now she's swirling rocks and floating. Like, okay, see, she's training.
Yeah.
She has a drill. Leia trained her. Oh, how did Leia learn that shit? Luke trained her.
Yeah.
They fixed that in a 10-second flashback. Fine. I was cool with all that kind of stuff. I got to see Wedge. I love Wedge from the original.
that battle scene was so frustrating.
But I love Wedge.
Oh my
You
gosh.
don't understand. He's one of my favorite characters.
No, Wedge it's a great callback. He wasn't able to do the Force Awakens. He was supposed to come back for the Force Awakens, and that didn't pan out. And he didn't get called back for the second film, The Last Jedi. Yep. But when he got the call for this one, he jumped on that boat, which is cool.
Boba Freak.
Babu Freak.
Babu
Oh,
Freak.
Babu
Man.
Freak.
Babu Freak.
Babu Freak.
Amazing. So I left it okay, and I felt like they righted enough wrongs and gave me enough fan service to where I was like, okay, it's over now. What's next? Let's go back to the Mandalorian and stuff like that. So Kurt, what was your breakthrough? What was the things that bothered you, and what are the things you like?
The trilogy is ready. Babu Frick was definitely the highlight of the movie. Off rip, Palpatine coming back.
And then at one point getting it on with someone to make a kid. So
Oh yeah, I know, right? Who knows who laid Palpatine? No,
let
but
it
just,
flow.
Star Wars XXX, XXX wing. No, seriously, like one of the most important parts about Luke and his dad's relationship is how he believed in the goodness of his father when literally no one else in the galaxy did, and that love that he had and that faith that he had was strong enough to make him turn around and go against his master or whatever, and Darth Sidious. So like to have them go through all that and Vader give his life to make that happen, and then they just bring Palpatine back, like
Vader died for nothing now.
Yeah, this is like that whole original trilogy that we all fell in love with. Like they went through all that just so this dude can come back and get killed by some rando with 2 lightsabers and an X. And that was the other thing, how Palpatine died. Come on, dog, for real? Like, you just can't stop shooting Force lightning?
Yeah.
That's all you had to do was just stop.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, or did Rey learn how to shoot Force lightning through the lightsabers to him, so he really wasn't?
It's when you make the X, you
it's
like
when the X
gonna give it to you.
X
So
gonna get. That's what I thought. I was like, oh great, like just bring Deadpool in, Disney. Like let's just make it really really.
She
weird.
used the old Mace Windu strategy. He was about to put him down with that same exact
Just
move.
walk into him.
Yeah, just use your lightsaber, walk straight into him.
Ray Windu.
Yeah,
Ray Windu.
Ray.
That's
I'm your daddy.
That's-
that I would believe that. Like if Ray was like,
I'd believe that.
Ray,
I believe
your last name is Windu.
Windu. Ray Windu. I'm your daddy.
Motherfucker.
Yes, I'm your dad. Oh man. So I had a problem with that. I definitely didn't like how she's Rey Skywalker. Like, if anything, own up to who you are and be like,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm Rey Palpatine. And I defeated the one of the darkest forces in the universe.
Yeah.
And I'm rewriting the name. You know what I mean? So I couldn't stand that. I couldn't stand how she could just force heal people. That was just like
Eddie and I talked about that before the show today. I think Kyle too. We were saying that like that was the one technique that Darth Vader, Anakin was chasing. That's what led him to the dark side from the.
Rey can just have it. She's
now babies are fucking doing this shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, if Baby Yoda can do that, why the hell didn't Obi-Wan heal Qui-Gon when he was see he knows.
Yeah,
like that's a real thing. Like
that ability wasn't.
I would have loved to have had Liam Neeson throughout episode 1, 2, and 3.
It came in the next patch. That's what it was. It wasn't patched in yet.
Okay, they didn't put out that update. Liam Neeson's Liam Neeson's
died before the update.
I'm saying, man, it's messed up. So that was a few things. Another J.J. Abrams thing. I couldn't stand how they didn't show us the second ship that Chewbacca got on. They only showed us one ship. So when she did the Force Lightning and she blew it up, and then Chewbacca showed up again later, I was like, dog, that's the same thing you did with Poe in The Force Awakens.
They went back to the tropes.
Yeah, dude,
they did.
It was lost.
They did that 3 times in that movie where they're like, something happens. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. Like, oh, we're gonna wipe 3PO's memory.
Right.
I will put it back.
But R2 has it all back. All right, okay. This is all for nothing.
I mean, like, you don't even let us wonder for a
kill
while.
Kylo Ren. Or and bring him back.
Yeah, bring him back.
Yeah.
It's not a Star Wars movie unless they blow up a planet. Chewbacca gets captured.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's
I got one more. Okay, this one is so. I mean, the other ones were pretty ridiculous, but this one's really ridiculous. Where the hell did that Final Order fleet come from? Just under the ground? They were just under the ground.
They were Union.
Just under the ground.
They were Union.
They were Union. Oh, okay, so they don't show up until
exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
I got it. Rise, my final. I'm like, dog, you buried the whole Final Order. Were those people in the ships underground too, buried alive?
Egyptians 2,000 years ago. See, we got it right. We got it right.
We got it right. Palpatine had it the whole time. Yeah, it was. I mean, and then who were those people out in his little area? Were those a bunch of
I have a
Sith?
theory about this. I have a theory that
he
he really misses being in the Senate and having a lot of people watching him. He was just chilling on Exegol by himself. He was like, yo, dude, I miss people. I used to talk to like thousands of people. He used to cheer my name, like, and he just like using his force powers, like just summoned creatures to just like cheer on him.
Not even. I think it's simpler than that. I think it's simpler. He's like, you build me incredible blowing machines to make these people wave.
Yeah,
that's all it was.
It was just wind
it's
machines.
just cloth, and they do like a
exactly.
Like
that's all it was.
Like
the floating arm guys.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what it was. Force floating arm guys.
There you go.
Solved it.
Exactly.
JJ, we're waiting for our check.
Now here's like this was my biggest. Mind you, I had a ton of other complaints, but my biggest complaint. They showed the goddamn ghost in the battle with all the other ships.
Yeah.
I wanted to see General Syndulla. I wanted to see Chopper. I wanted to know what the hell happened to like all this stuff that they left us on at the end of Star Wars Rebels.
Right.
I wanted to see happen in this. They've shown already the ghost in Rogue One.
Right.
They showed the ghost in this one, and I'm like, okay, they're going to show General Syndulla probably with her son. Maybe Sabine's going to be somewhere in there. Fuck no.
Less than nothing.
Flip the table.
Just let's go to one place and find a thing. Like, oh, we need a wayfinder, which was really
a holocron.
Revan's holocron.
Exactly. That's all it was.
Which I wish they would have just called it that. Why couldn't they just say Darth? Like even bring up a little info thing, like Darth Revan wants to Sith.
Yeah.
Well, now you know.
Yeah. I mean, even that I'd have been like, okay, that's exposition, but for the people that really give a damn, sweet. Thank you for acknowledging Revan in the movie.
And they easily could have, since they make books and things that kind of explain, and apparently they gave sections of that crowd, or at least some of the statues, like their own call sign or designation. And in that book, which is I guess all canon, there's like the Revan Order and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So they technically canonized the Knights of the Old Republic stuff. But they could have just said the name.
Right.
The entire plot of the Rise of Skywalker felt like an RPG to me.
Very much.
Because it's like, okay, we need you to go get this one thing, but first, when you get here, this guy is holding it from you and he needs you to do this other thing. Like, bro, what am I playing, Outer Worlds or something? Like,
right.
Really? Am I gonna have to go get this thing for you and rescue your daughter, and then you're gonna come back, then give me that info, then like go out layers and then in more layers for each?
Yeah.
I went and saw it once. I saw it with my wife, and then the second time I had to go see it with the homie David Ing. And I love seeing movies with David because he's not afraid to like talk during it. So we'll be talking stuff. And it's funny you mentioned that because when they were on the planet where they fell through the sand, and
yeah.
that played like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Yeah.
You stumble upon a giant creature.
Y'all were not looking where I told you to look, so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna drop you into the thing that you were supposed to find 45 minutes ago because y'all got sidetracked.
He's wounded.
Yeah.
What do? You know?
Roll for action.
Roll for action. Okay, I'll go first. I have priority.
Roll
All
for
right,
heal wounds.
I want to look at him in the eyes and heal him. All right, roll it. Oh shit, it worked out. All right, cool.
There you go. Ray heals with the Force. All right. Is that canon? Fuck, it is now.
Just now, she rolled it.
Did you pick it? It was in the player's manual. Okay, shit. Okay.
Final thoughts, Kurt. You said you saw it twice. What made you go see it again?
I owed someone a movie.
There you go.
There you go.
I fell asleep on it like 4 times the second time too.
Oh.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Actually, me and Pixelina, me and Christina went to go see it, and yeah, man, I dropped my keys when I was asleep, and when it ended, well, we went in the 4DX thing, so you know, like the chairs were all shaking,
and you
stuff
still
like that.
fell asleep.
Dog, I was out cold, like it was blowing water in my face, and I was asleep. She was like, "You fell asleep, huh?" I was like, I looked down, my keys were on the ground. I'm like, "Dang, I didn't even hear my keys hit the ground." I'm like, "Yeah." So yeah, it was pretty bad, yo.
Oh.
Out of 10, what'd you give it?
Oh gosh, do I have to?
Okay, hold on. How does it rank then with all the Star Wars movies that have come out? Of the
all
nine.
of them ever?
Of the nine?
nine?
Of the 9.
Ooh, dang. Ooh.
Let's see.
Okay,
Is it better than any of the prequels?
is it better than any
Better
of the
than the first
prequels?
one.
Any of the prequels?
Better than Phantom.
I like just because we had Darth Maul alone and we had Qui-Gon and the Phantom Menace, I can't even put it above the Phantom Menace.
But
And
then
I
it also
hated
had-
all the pod racing stuff.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let's just do the sequels. So in the sequel trilogy, I do have it as the number 1 because I did not like Force. I didn't like Force Awakens. The second that Force Awakens came out, I was just like, this was the new Star Wars. I get it. I'm excited that we got new Star Wars. But this was the new Star Wars. And then when the Last Jedi came out, I was just like, you guys don't give a damn.
Nope.
And then when this came out, I was like, I already knew y'all didn't give a damn, but thank you for just not making it horrible. So I got this one as number 1. I got The Force Awakens as number 2, and then I got The Last Jedi as number 3. In this, Rogue One out of the Disney movies,
yeah.
Rogue One is number 1. to me
Absolutely.
still.
By far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rewatched that one and it was good. You know, I even rewatched Solo, and
Dude, I actually like Solo.
yeah, I liked it better the second time.
I rewatched since I think about a month ago. I watched from Phantom Menace, and I just finished Empire. I've been going through like chronologically through all of them in order.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Rogue One definitely is so like it's so nice to be able to like see all these in context now, and kind of like you don't have like the rose tinted glasses looking back like, oh no, dude, this movie was so good. Like now I realize like, okay, Attack of the Clones was pretty bad. I just enjoyed it because I was 8 when it came out, and so like you get to like get more of the context on all of them. But
Yeah.
Out of 10, Eddie, how many monocles you giving it?
This one?
Yeah,
Maybe 3.
3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was at 3.5.
Because like Curtis was saying, it's definitely better than The Last Jedi. It's comparable to the Phantom Menace. Like seriously, Jar Jar Binks is just the worst racially insensitive character in all of Star Wars. I love Duel of the Fates, like having John Williams create that out of that trilogy. But yeah, it's got to be like a 3. It's in those low numbers, and by far, like Rogue One and Empire are my 2 favorites.
Yep.
So,
Right. Kyle, what do you think? Out of 10?
As a Star Wars movie, I throw it as a 7. As a movie, like a 4.
Okay. Chat is a little more optimistic than you guys. Lost Sheep gave it a 7. Steven 7. Tronos gave it a 7. Ego Brain 7. So there's a lot of 7s across the board, and I'm likely to agree with them. I think I'd give it like a 6.5.
Okay.
a 6. I mean, hey, different strokes for different folks, right?
Absolutely.
So stroking things and stuff like that.
I'm easy to pleasy, baby.
There you go.
All right, we got some other stuff happening in the world of video gaming. Have you guys seen the new PS5 logo?
Yeah.
Now, you know what's crazy about it is, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but if you would have came up to me and said, hey, What do you think the PS5 logo is going to look like? Draw it from memory. I would have drawn exactly what we got.
Yeah.
It's a PS5
What we
logo.
expected.
Yeah.
Is that enough though? Here, I'll bring it up on the screen so everybody in the studio can see it. That's your logo, guys.
I mean, it looks like what I expected.
You know, maybe they didn't even pay anybody. Like
Maybe
maybe
not.
that's the thing. They don't even need to try anymore.
They're like,
Probably not.
hey, that intern that's always doodling on his notepad, what's he doing in the next 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, give him this to do real quick.
I
Just,
feel like they were like gonna go do their big unveiling meeting, and you're like, Jerry, you did the logo, right? I'm like, I thought Kevin was doing it. Like, crap. Okay, well, let me just open Photoshop real quick. Okay, boom, we're good. Let's go. Let's just slap that on the cover art and let's go.
he's like, just take the top part of the 3 and then just turn it around.
Yeah.
Just sharpen that corner, make it a 5.
The memes, I think, have probably been the best thing to come out of this logo. But I mean, look at this is a good point. Remember when this was the logo for the PlayStation 3? When they actually spelt the word out and it kind of looked like Spider-Man font?
Yeah.
That's right.
It you know what's funny is it can be like super unoriginal and uninventive, but it's still better than whatever Xbox is doing with their branding.
Come on, man. What is Xbox doing? What I don't even know what their current one is called.
Xbox Series X.
Xbox Series X, not to be confused with the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
Great.
They're just trying
Or
to
the
confuse
Xbox
people.
One.
Well, they've really given up.
Infinite groans.
Have you seen what that one actually looks like?
I haven't even seen it.
Xbox
I'm
Series
gonna
X.
buy it, but
You're gonna buy it?
oh, I'm not gonna buy it.
Okay, good.
I'm all in on PC now.
I'll pull up a picture. If you guys didn't know, the Christmas party got pretty lit. It was the last episode that came out. If you guys have not missed it, or if you guys missed it, go back and listen
man.
to it. It's definitely like
I almost want to move the camera over here and just show everybody.
yeah. I ended up busting up the TV in the studio, so it's a little hard to see things. But that's your Xbox Series X right
That
there.
looks like a meme.
Hey, it looks like an Amazon.
Is that an Echo? Or
Like, yeah, I was gonna say
it's a tower.
it's it plays video games and purifies the air.
yeah. It's air humidifier.
Got a cold? Turn on your Xbox.
There's literally no
looks-
reason to buy a console.
You see the circle in the corner? That's where you pour the water in. Just
These things aren't even like they play all the same games now. It's just gonna make it look a little bit better. The next thing kind of I had on the list to talk about anyways was as far as pushing technology forward, Asus announced a 360 hertz monitor, which I'm conflicted about. What do you think of that one, Kyle?
I think it's cool. I think it's like kind of impractical at the moment, but that's the way that like hardware and software are. It's like hardware like pushes the boundaries, and meanwhile software is like, bro, we're like 5 years from that. We appreciate the gesture, but like none of our games can push that. Like
Yeah.
even with like a 1080, most can only push like 240, 250,
Right.
260.
Barely.
And so like you would have to play like CS:GO on all low settings with two 2080 Ti's running in SLI together to maybe hit like 380 or 360. So like it's cool, and I think it's like great that we keep pushing forward. Eventually we'll kind of get to the point where like it's not like a big deal, and like I assume it's mostly for like your esports pros.
Yeah. But then it goes back into the same mindset we were talking about earlier, like with the PS5 and all that, where the PS5 is going to be pushing out 8K resolution. Mm-hmm. Who has an 8K TV?
Exactly.
That's true.
Nobody has an 8K resolution, and it's going to be doing that at like 30 frames per second. So none of this
Right.
refresh
Right.
rate stuff matters. to
So,
them.
exactly.
You can only pick one or the other. You can pick, I want high refresh rate, or I want high resolution. I want 4K, 8K at like 30 to 60,
Yeah.
or I want like 140, 240 at like low settings, looks like crap 1080p.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too,
Yeah.
ultimately, right now with gaming. Either you're going to pay the money for the humidifier or the snake game over there on the other one, or you're going to pay for this badass screen that probably most games won't be able
And
to.
even still, even if you get the Xbox or PlayStation, you're getting like, they're just now hitting 60. They're like, hey guys, welcome to 2019. We just hit 60 frames. And we're like, okay.
Because refresh rate doesn't even matter too much on the TV game where
Yeah.
most of the consoles get hooked up.
Yeah.
So there's a huge disconnect still. That's the gap that needs to get bridged, I think, before we hit that true point of integration between PC and console gamers. I think I would say anybody who got a shiny new PC for Christmas maybe, or who's going to be looking to get into building a PC in the new year, The most significant change you can make, though, besides your peripherals, like you got to have a good mouse and keyboard, but beyond that would be your monitor. Like that's going to make more of a difference. Going from 60 hertz refresh rate to 144 was the most significant change in my gaming.
That's literally 2 weeks ago I got my new monitor in, and it is next. It's like putting on glasses. It's like, so I got the new Battlefront 2 and just been playing like the campaign. Just like seeing that look super good and also be like 144 frames. It's just great.
It's smooth.
It's the best.
It's butter. That's what I told Ego Brain, who built a PC and put a nice graphics card, and he did all this stuff, and he was running things on the highest graphics. But then we wanted to play more competitive games like Apex, and I was like, bro, you got to get that 144 hertz if you want to, like, if you really want to improve yourself. And he went out and picked it up, and it's wild. But from what I've heard from pros, because I've never gotten to touch one, is that the increase from 144 to 240 is not huge.
I think it's subtle. I mean, this is again from what I've heard. Like I've heard that it's pretty subtle. It's definitely not as. I mean, you can feel it and you can notice it, and especially if you're like at the 0.1% of total people playing the game, like it matters because you have the fast reaction time and all that kind of stuff. But like, it's not. Unless you are up that level or like wanting to get like semi-pro, like I want to get really, really competitive with it, like it's just not worth it as much.
So it just depends on how much you're looking to invest in your gaming. Are you a casual gamer? You want to be competitive? And is that worth part of your gaming experience? It's much like with film, with movies, people who buy big-ass TVs and buy all these types of, amplifiers and all this other stuff for their seating. Do you really need that? Or is that just excess to have it for the sake of having it? And
there comes a point, too, where you hit, like, a point of diminishing returns, like when The Lord of the Rings came out with a movie, and, like, what did they do? Like, 90 frames per second?
It was 60 frames.
With The Hobbit with 60 frames.
Was it 60?
Yeah, it was 60.
Which is more than video. Double like, with film and video, it's so much weirder. With video games, we're kind of expecting it.
I went to a press screening where they tried that out with the tester audience, and everybody in the middle of the film was like, change the movie, this sucks. Like, people were yelling.
People were throwing up and stuff, too. It was like making people sick.
It's like we're used to 24 frames as the film standard, and it kind of, because it keeps that difference between life, like, and you're like, it tells your brain, like, this is not real life. Right. When they throw on 60, you're like, oh shit, we're close. Like, this feels Uncanny Valley-esque. Like, you can see the CGI bits a little bit better. It's just like, it feels more unfamiliar and strange because it's too close to realism.
Yeah, that whole opening sequence for The Hobbit looked like a video game cutscene. And it just did not look like a part of a film. It looked like I was about to be handed a controller. Yeah. All right, you take over from here.
What did you think, Kurt? Have you watched any movies in that frame rate?
In 60?
Yeah.
I've watched some stuff. For me, it's like I don't like it because I like film. Like I've got like a little low level like cinema quality camera and everything. So like I wanna watch like film in 24 frames per second. That's how I like to watch film. But I'm so used to like watching video or even watching certain certain like different videos in 60 frames per second or video games.
Pornography.
Dude. Well, that's the funny thing because porn is always the leader in like video technology.
They're like,
we'll do this VR thing before anyone does a VR.
I was just gonna say that's the whole conversation in Tropic Thunder. It's like, oh yeah, it really took just a difference between people who watch porn on their systems or whatever. No,
porn is at 8K, 360 frames per second.
They got the red cameras already day one, dude.
Here's the bigger thing, because I don't think people actually learned, or at least filmmakers didn't learn from it, because Gemini Man, the recent Will Smith film, it showed in certain theaters at 120 frames per second.
Oh, I heard about that.
Really?
That's crazy.
It completely killed the movie. For people who went to go see it, if they saw it in the regular resolution 24 frames, it was fine. It looked all right. But because they filmed it with the 8K or 4K, some higher resolution cameras for that.
Cameras?
Pretty much. They ended up shooting it at 120 frames per second, and it just killed the entire movie experience for a lot of people. everybody was like, most of the people were like, "This is horrible. I can't watch this."
I want to watch like a scene in 140, like what that's like with that.
We can't.
It feels really like when it's something that's longer. It feels really. It's just too fluid.
Yeah.
You know, we're like 24. We're used to. It's kind of staccato, so we're used to like just the way that it looks. And like you said, our brains are programmed to see it that way. Like even watching something like that on such a big screen in 30, your brain can already start to tell the difference. It starts to look like a YouTube video. But then when things are so fluid, I think, and that's part of what it is. It takes away the drama of it. Like that's what we see. We live, like, our eyes are analog, right? So everything is analog motion. There's like, we see everything in between. Even this thing, which always used to freak me out. It's like our eyes are trying to keep up with the motion of our hands, but it's analog. So we see all of the in between and everything. And when you start reducing that in video, it just, I don't know, it just feels real weird. But I say, first, we're talking about aesthetics ultimately, right?
Yeah.
Like everything comes down to video. There really ain't no, I mean, unless you're Wally Feister shooting for freaking Christopher Nolan, nobody shoots in film anymore. Everything is digital.
Right.
Yeah.
So for the aesthetics and for people to stay familiar, just keep it at 24 frames. And then when you want to do something really cool and you want to, show, I think now Netflix is kind of like the perfect place for that, because now you got the TVs that are starting to get higher refresh rates. You want to try something like that, and then people will talk about it. Whoa, did you see how like they did like that crazy thing and all on Netflix? I think it's going to be better suited at home than trying to do it in the theater.
Here's the thing, because I know you want to move forward real quick, Cory, is even now, like, an article dropped today that I actually thought was really interesting. They announced today at CES, because right now CES is going on in Vegas. They announced, with the backing of Christopher Nolan as well as a couple other people, that they're going to be pushing forward with what's called filmmaker mode on TVs. So they're going to be actually trying to do away with that motion smoothing feature that most TVs have.
I turned that off on every TV that I ever come across.
And they're going to they're going to
essentially
essentially try to push forward to have TVs have a filmmaker mode on their TVs. So when you watch the movie in that mode, you're seeing it essentially as how the filmmaker intended for it to be seen the first time.
Right, which is not on a TV anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's going to be like really, really pushed to, just try to be on every TV coming out after 2020. So that's going to be interesting.
Very cool. So the last thing I had on the docket is Curtis's Comic Book Corner, brought to us by Oblivion Comics and Coffee. Curtis, I've been reading a lot more comics. I'm excited. We got the X-Men Krakoa cast going on.
We do.
And because, as we've noted several times, the X-Men comics are kind of fizzling. I mean, they came out strong with House and Powers of X.
Yes.
And now I'm starting to, I'm getting the itch for other things. So I picked up Doctor Strange #1.
Doctor Strange #1 or Doctor Strange the End?
The Surgeon one.
Oh, the Surgeon one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. How was that?
I thought it was awesome because it felt like a comic book. It knew exactly what it was, had the bright, bold text colors and things. Like, it was comic booky. And
It was comic booky.
And, well, now it feels like most of the comic books I've been reading feel modernized. They're trying to tell real stories, and there's just a different way to tell a story when you're, trying to be gritty. And in this one, it was very, like, pow! Old classic comic book. And I enjoyed it a lot. It's one I'm going to put on the reserve list.
Is it nearby? Do you have it nearby right
now? I think it's back there in that back corner.
Okay. I was going to ask you who's writing it.
I'll grab it while you get into what books you've been reading.
Speaking of the X books and them having a little bit of fizzle, one in particular, actually, and I'm going to go as far as to say something happened where they didn't stay on track. The X-Men #4 and #5 ended up getting pushed back, and I'm actually kind of happy that they did, because #4 started to actually fizzle again. Not that there was tons of action in this. There was action, but they got invited to like another national council, and there were some really pointed comments, and there was some action that was happening while they were there in the background. This actually did take it up another notch for me. I don't mark it as kind of the comic booky type one that Doctor Strange #1 was for Cory. Although recently I did read a Spider-Man symbiote book that was done by Greg Land and how am I forgetting my good buddy's name? Anyway, he's a really Peter David, and it felt like that. And Cory, I'm gonna make sure you get that one too. But it did feel very comic booky and fun. This doesn't feel like that. It is a modernized comic book, but the dialogue was good and the action was solid. Marauders, which Cory, you were still feeling the last Marauders, right? Or did you start to fall off?
I fell off on Marauders. I think I'm actually behind like by 2 issues. But go ahead.
Okay, no problem. This one. Actually, it's weird because where I feel like they're gonna start falling off and being a little uninteresting. Jerry Duggan, I even had to hit him up on Twitter. I was like, "Hey man, I was pretty critical of you, and you liked my tweet when I was like critical of you, and now I got to give you some love. Like this book is quality, even though I'm not always like loving it. The writing tends to be quality, and they did a cool thing. They had some interesting character moments, which I thought kind of were gonna be a little sappy. No, it turned out to be pretty good, and then the overall story of what's happening with the Marauders as a whole team was pretty cool, so I dig in that. One of my favorite writers in modern comics these days, and one of the coolest dudes, definitely when I get more advanced in my years, I hope I'm half as cool as Brian Edward Hill. This dude, he is a screenplay writer, he's producing shows for DC and stuff like that, and he's writing comic books. And he has like the best taste in like clothing and aesthetics and watches. And he lets me DM him, and he actually DMs me back, and it's pretty cool. He's into cyberpunk stuff. I'm really big, and I've always been big into cyberpunk. And like this noir cyberpunk tale in Fallen Angels continues to sizzle. I really like it. It's still my personal favorite book. The art, yes, it's true. The art sometimes just feels.
I was gonna say, I think I'm 1 issue behind you on that, and that's my biggest complaint is that the art is so lifeless.
Yes, yeah. There's times where it's just like that's a copy paste, and you didn't really do extra outside of it. But then there's parts where it's like this looks really cool. Like especially if if you catch up on the last one, Cory. The very last page and some other pages in it are like some of the coolest images out of all of the X-Men books.
Oh, I'm catching up.
Okay, well,
believe you me.
Brian Edward Hill, I would say, did it again with the story. Super interesting. I mean, it's a technological, it's an AI who says it's God and says Psylocke is its God because Psylocke didn't take it offline when it should have, and then it gained consciousness and started like consuming media in the world at like ridiculous rates.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
The first book it read was the Bible.
Yeah, the first book it read was the Bible,
which is what gave it the basis of this complex that it basically has.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I was like, that makes perfect sense. And then also like the Japanese culture within it, how every book has to do with some part of like being a samurai and Bushido and all that other stuff. I don't know. It's just Brian Edward Hill took all the coolest things that had nothing to do with what was going on in X-Men, crammed them into a book, and I'm sad that it's actually getting ready to end because he has to go back and produce more DC shows and write more screenplays, but I'm happy for him because he's a super cool dude. And then finally, since East of West is over, and that is one other comic book that I should have brought with me because my favorite comic of all time, the very last issue came out. That is how you end a comic book, in a freaking blaze of glory and beauty. But instead, I brought Criminal, issue 11 of the Cruel Summer storyline. It had kind of gone down a little bit, but I'll tell you what, not even 2 issues ago, last issue, freaking they brought up Joy Division Unknown Pleasures album, and they made it relevant in the comic.
That's
like it was part of the caper.
That's all tale. You right there. That comic book is made for you. Literally,
it's about criminals doing crime. And families too, but and it's a perfect balance too. Nothing is sappy. They always, and then every time Ed Brubaker like makes it a conflict, it's always the perfect conflict. He seeds things properly. He puts people in certain scenarios perfectly, and then at the end of it, it always ends with a, oh damn, I totally forgot about that part. Oh, how is this gonna go? So this continues to not disappoint. This, since East of West is over, this is currently my favorite comic book, and everybody should be reading it. So again, thank you to Oblivion Comics and Coffee for providing us with these books, and you guys expect another Krakoa cast here soon as Cory and I read up on these X-Men books and then discuss them, and then again try to figure out as we're down to like the last 3 relevant ones if we're gonna maybe switch to some.
Yeah,
other
as this
books.
thing limps along, we have to find other comics to
But
read.
the interesting thing, Cory, I forgot is that in February. Oh, Mark Waid wrote it. Oh yeah, that's all I needed. Mark Waid is still a very quality writer. He's the guy that did the Flash series with my name's Wally West.
Yeah,
I'm the fastest. That they quote on the show. Mark Waid is the writer that wrote all.
Oh,
those
so this
Flash
guy's
books.
an OG.
Oh yeah, and he did Kingdom Come too. Which if anybody saw the new Wonder Woman trailer, Wonder Woman 84, that winged all gold costume that she was wearing, that's from
Alex Ross's
Ross
Kingdom Come storyline.
Kingdom Come.
This one, it's cool. It's like he's back to being a surgeon again. So
Which is awesome.
It's not Doctor Strange, like spelt out doctor. It's
Right.
like actual doctor, and the title, the subheader is like Surgeon Supreme.
Surgeon Supreme.
And he's not allowed to like blend the worlds, so he actually has to go back to being a surgeon. Except he can see things through the spirit world. So like when a guy has a tumor, he looks at it and sees like. I'll hold it up to the camera there. If you're actually watching us on twitch.tv, you'd be able to see like the beast that is the tumor and how vicious it is and stuff. So the art style, that gives it creative to be like really good aesthetically. And this guy Kev Walker, I think he's probably one of my favorites because of this book. Like, this is what I like to see when I look at comic books.
There you go.
That was our show, everybody. Thanks for listening. It's good to be back. Video Game Bang 2020. Gonna start off strong in this next decade. And get things right the wrongs. I mean, we will never take a break that long again. We've seen what happens. It's our responsibility to do this podcast. Eddie, where can people find the Filmlosopher's podcast?
You can find us at filmlosophers.com, where all 201 episodes are now housed. We just dropped our latest episode on the recent reboot / sidequel, if you want to call it, of The Grudge. We did a review on that. You can also catch us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Filmlosophers and on Twitter and IG at Filmlosophy101.
Kyle, where can people watch your podcast or listen to your podcast?
You can check me out at Blackwatch Report on Twitch and Blackwatch Report on Twitter. No Owen Report, super weird. You can follow me on Twitter, Kyle Winner, and check out if you're into game dev stuff, check out Sac Dev Collective. We're doing a lot of game dev stuff in town, so. If you want to get into making video games.
When's the jam?
Dude, literally a week from Saturday on the 18th at Hacker Lab. If you want to make video games, come by, 11 o'clock, Hacker Lab downtown. Come make a game with us. And it's a whole big program. We got lots of EA Capital Games folks coming, helping out, doing stuff. So definitely come by. Check us out on social media and stuff like that.
What skill set do you need? Can I just
Literally,
show up with podcasting knowledge?
Anything.
And just
we need people to come up with ideas. We need people to program. We need people to do art and sound and music and writing and anything you could do. There's nothing stopping you. If you have no knowledge of how to make a game, you'll learn.
That's cool. Kurt, man, which one of your projects do you want to plug today? Because there are a lot of them.
There are quite a few. Mainly, let's go with Sacktown Breakdown.
All right.
Sacktown Breakdown, yeah, check us out on Twitch, on YouTube. So far, we've covered, I think we've only missed 4 games, and I'm going to make a video where I cover all those. We're on a losing streak. Who wants to hear me talk about those? I'm going to put them all in one video, but me and my main man, Tap, breaking it down. And then, I'll mention the other one, Thinking Critical. Tune in. We break down comics. We got a show called Outside the Bleed where we go outside of the margins of the comics and, kind of get real deep and nerdy.
All right.
It sounds dirty. Deep and nerdy.
Well, I am going to sleep for like 3 days. Work has been nuts. I put so much time and effort and thought and care into launching the new branding for the San Francisco Shock.
Nice.
Today was
good,
the
man.
day that we pushed it out, and it went so well. I was so glad. Any rebrand that you see anywhere, let alone in esports, is usually met with critical reception. And we took what we learned from some other launches in recent history and what we've seen other teams do. And I just am so thankful that the Shock community is such a rabid fan base. And there was a lot of support from our Shockwaves, Jason Gist, who's the president over there, Beige the Square, all the fam over there. And it's all going to culminate in Shock 2020. where we're selling tickets. We moved our venue. That was another thing that was huge, that we went from the Cow Palace to Zellerbach Hall in Berkeley.
Hey.
And that's where we're going to be doing our first home games, March 28th and 29th. Tickets are on sale for that. Daily tickets are only $30 a pop.
Hey.
You can come, hang out, watch some live gaming. We're going to have tons of entertainment. I will say more when I can say more. That's the next projects.
Okay.
But it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be the culmination. There will not be a dry eye from any of the staff, man. We've been that's the whole thing. When we started this thing, we knew the home games were coming, so we were putting heart and soul into making sure that these events are going to be good, high quality, and just stay tuned. So follow Shock on Twitter, twitter.com/sfshock. That's it, though.
No, Corey, there's one more.
What's up? What happened?
I wore this jersey because one of the other things that you work for.
Let's go.
Energy.
Yes.
My man
Nairobi Quesada.
Woo, boy.
Pulling off the first S-tier event in 2020.
Let's make moves.
Yeah.
Hey, and he fought all the way back from loser's bracket, fought back through T, took T out, had to go, and then finally had to take out DeBuzz, one of the most annoying players to play because he is so good. No disrespect to DeBuzz, but he ran it back against DeBuzz, reset the bracket, and then took that man out. And I was literally up there cheering so hard, and I had my Nairo jersey on, so I wore it today. Had to give, because Cory works so hard. You know what I mean? I got it. Sometimes you forget about some of the stuff that you be even working on because you work so much.
Well, when all you do is win, some fall through the cracks.
Hey, let's go.
But I was right there with you, man. Especially on that bracket reset, that game 5, when there was like 3 false finishes in a row.
Oh man,
that was nerve wracking. I knew as soon as Luma was gone, I was like, okay, he's got it.
Yeah, he's got it.
There's no way. And then the false finishes, you just never know what's gonna happen.
Right?
So.
Yeah, and that's because especially when the game first came out, we were like, oh, it's over. Oh, it's not over yet. You know, it's still living. So shout out to Nairo and Cory. I got to talk to you about getting one of those black and white energy jerseys, dog. Them things is
the championship editions?
Is that what that is?
We only sell those when people win championships. So I don't even think you can buy those. But I got a special place in my heart for Kurt, so I'll make it happen.
Okay, cool. Because otherwise, I might have to break into Nairo's house and take one. Anyway, that's it.
All right, that's it for Curtis, Eddie, Kyle. My name is Cory, saying you've just been banged.